1. Notch Hill Church in Tappan, British Columbia, Canada. 1885 to 1886, the town of Notch Hill grew as a result of the CPR having the pusher engines located there. Notch Hill was known as having the steepest grade in Canada and needed pusher engines to assist the trains from Chase in the west and Tappan in the east. Many of the townsfolk were CPR employees, engineers, oilers, wipers, station agent and section workers. 3 of these CPR employees were Mr. William Loftus, Mr. Carl Frederickson and Mr. Joseph Callahan, volunteers in the construction of Holy Cross Church. By the 1960s the CPR built a second and third set of tracks which forced parishioners to walk on the right-of-way or trespass through farmers' fields. There was also a marked decline of parishioners throughout the 1960s, and on April 28, 1970 Anne and Carl Frederickson celebrated their 50th wedding anniversary in Holy Cross Church. That was the last time the church was used, and after this ceremony Holy Cross Church closed its doors. Gradually, the lightly built wooden church began to deteriorate to the point when finally, by 2012 the bell tower had a significant lean, much of the roof on the eastern side was torn away and the whole building was tilting 16 inches toward the east. The church began a new life in its 90th year. During the initial restoration period from August through December 2012, the building was leveled and is back to a vertical position due to the hard work and consistent efforts of a dedicated group of volunteers. More reconstruction will continue throughout 2013. 2. Pertsy Castle, Pertsy, Ukraine. This castle, built between 1635 and 1640, was once richly furnished, but during World War I, Russian soldiers destroyed the lavish interior. Later, the castle belonged to Prince Roman Sangizko, who removed some of its valuable furnishings in 1939 and took them to Brazil. After World War II, the Soviets reopened it as a tuberculosis sanitarium, but in 1956 the old castle caught fire and burned for 3 weeks, destroying the last of its interior beauty. The Lviv Gallery of Arts is trying to restore the building, but at present, there aren't any visible changes. 3. The Strange Muromtsevo Mansion, Russia. Russian architect P.S. Boydtsov built many French-style medieval castle in the 19th century, but Muromtsevo Mansion is by far the most spectacular of them. The legend of this odd castle begins in the 19th century, when a Russian nobleman traveling through France made acquaintance with a French lord. The two began to squabble over the superiority of each country, and after tiring of the lord extolling the ornate architecture of France, the Russian declared that he could erect a castle of equal magnificence in his own country. The Frenchman scoffed, and replied if he could build a castle as grandiose as the ones in France, he would come to Russia himself to see it. Spooky abandoned Soviet-era circus in Moldova. This abandoned circus is situated in the heart of Chisinau, the capital and largest city of the Republic of Moldova. It was originally constructed back in 1981 when the country was known as the Moldavian Soviet Socialist Republic and it was a part of the USSR. In the Soviet era, circus was very popular, and this is why this large and impressive building was built. In its auditorium there is space for 2,000 spectators. Times changed though, and today Moldova is one of the poorest countries in Europe. The circus closed in 2004 for repairs, but it never opened again. The inside however remains almost intact, perhaps waiting for better days to come. 5. Abandoned Whittingham Hospital. Whittingham, Lancashire, UK. The construction of Whittingham Asylum began in 1869, when the three neighbouring asylums in Lancaster, Prestwich, and Rainhill were deemed to be full. While the hospital officially opened its doors on 1 April 1873, building work continued, expanding the site to include a ballroom, a brewery, a Roman Catholic chapel and an Anglican church, several farms, a sports club, and its very own post office and railway. In 1923, the asylum was renamed Whittingham Mental Hospital, and by the outbreak of the Second World War in 1939, housed more than 3,500 patients with a staff of over 500, making it the largest facility of its kind in the country and the second largest in Europe. It was here at Whittingham Hospital that the very first electroencephalogram was developed, paving the way for better diagnosis and treatment for patients with epilepsy. But sadly,